Karen Scharer. I have been a painter for, I think I'm up to 36 years now. I currently live in Pueblo West, Colorado, which is down in the flatlands, but looks up at the mountain peaks of Colorado. I started getting really interested in doing art myself after I was all the way out of school, graduated with my degree. I bought a house and I needed some stuff for the walls. So I grew up in a household where art was very important. My parents met in an oil painting class, so it was always all around us all the time. I think my mother just loved the fact that I ended up deciding to become an artist and work at it seriously. The only thing that was never in question was that we would go to college. That was just, no direction on what to study, anything else. I think I got through school without really taking any art classes because at that point in time, it was the 60s, I was a little rebellious. And that was what my parents did. So, doing art, it might be okay, but, I was gonna go find my own way. And when I finally was out on my own, I found my way back. I just got waylaid for a while. I had a little bit of a sense that my dad, who was pretty conservative, probably would have raised his eyebrows if I had said I was going to spend 4 years in college to get an art degree, because he would have been like, well, how are you going to make a living? Because that was sort of the prevailing thought process at that point in time. But interestingly, a little later in life, I was talking to my dad. I was still working full-time in a corporate job and painting. But I was having a conversation with my dad one night, and I told him about a commission piece I was working on. And he stopped me in the middle of the discussion and said, when are you gonna quit and just paint? It was like, whoa. Because that was probably the strongest thing I had ever heard from either of my parents about what I should be doing career-wise with my life. There have been a number of influences and at different levels with my work over time. In terms of style, technique, things that I love that are out there in the real world, some, not surprising. The abstract expressionist painter, Joan Mitchell. I like Richard Dievenkorn. I did study for a while in Denver with a painter named Jeffrey Keith. He was the person that I was studying with when I made the change from painting in acrylic to painting to oil. And that was extremely helpful to me. I don't know if I would have ever had the knowledge, the reinforcement, whatever, to make that change. And that had a huge impact on my work. It makes a really big difference in what you're doing. If you can put paint on the canvas and continue to move it for a day, 2 days, 3 days, versus, particularly in Colorado's climate, if you put acrylic on the canvas, it's gonna be dry in maybe 15 or 20 minutes. All of the paintings at this point in time, this has been true for probably at least, I'm gonna say 3 years maybe. All of my paintings, whether they're calm, lively, light colored, dark colored, whatever, they all start with the same underpainting. And that is a little bit of a process, I guess, that I use to make that, what can be a very intimidating white canvas, go away. So I start with a layer of yellow, and this is not like a total layer, it's just marks. I make something that looks interesting to me with each of these steps, even though I know I'm going to cover up 99% of it in the process of finishing the painting. But I will first do that with yellow, and then it has to dry completely because I don't want it to blend unintentionally. So I let it dry, and then I come back in a day or so with a layer of red, same kind of thing. Marks that I think are interesting and appealing, and I go over the yellow. And where it goes over the yellow, it changes the reds, and so it starts to have a little bit more interesting, so you get some oranges and that kind of stuff. And then I go over that with a dark layer. It probably reads black to most people, but it's not actually black. It's a very dark gray that I mix from the same colors that I use. And I do that a couple days later and let that dry. And then I start my paintings from there. So if you were to go to my studio today, you would look around and see probably 10 or 12 canvases leaning against the wall, ready to be painted. And they all look red, yellow, black. And they all come out to be very different. So even this started out as red, yellow, and black. But one of the things that it does is it also provides, in addition to just giving me a way to start without getting all hung up on the white canvas, it also provides just little bits of the yellow, the black, the red, the orange that peek through as I'm painting. So you get sometimes very unexpected pops of red or yellow in a painting where I haven't actually deliberately put yellow in the finished painting, but it'll have those little extra bits of color that I think really enliven the painting and add a lot to it. I really like for paintings to have titles. It's a little bit of a hint for what I felt about the painting for the viewer. Some people find that limiting or say that they think it's limiting for the viewer, but I like that better than the, untitled number 1, untitled number 2. I like to provide at least a little bit of thought. I do paint to music, and for quite a while now, it's been jazz. It used to be just sort of like pop, or I use Pandora in the studio, so I can have music going pretty much consistently without being interrupted with other stuff. But music is enough of a distraction that you don't get too into your head with what you're trying to paint. You can stay more spontaneous and just react to what you're doing on the canvas without analyzing too much, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. So that I really like listening to jazz. If I go into the studio and I'm really excited about getting started painting, and I'll start and be like, something's not right. That's not right. Oh, I forgot to turn on the music. So it definitely helps me. I don't think there's any question. It's there's a rhythm in the work. There's a rhythm in the music. Somehow it's all kind of tied together. I don't know. There's just always another painting. I mean, I could always find something that I wish I'd done differently in a painting. Okay, so if I ever paint the perfect painting, that could be disastrous, because why would you paint another one? If this one's perfect, why continue? So the fact that they're never perfect keeps me going. I never know how they're going to turn out. It's always something new. My work has changed a lot in over time, and certainly over 36 years, it's changed tremendously. There's no question that the work goes in phases, and again, that's because it's a response to what's going on around me. So my work was much calmer a few years ago, and I would be probably in error if I said, well, I'll never paint like that again. It'll probably come around again as life changes. But at the moment, I like lively, I like vibrant, and it's what I'm enjoying the most right now, so that's what I'm doing. Looking forward, I would say I plan to continue painting as long as I can make that happen. I know my mom was a perpetual art student, and she painted until she had enough trouble with her eyesight that she kind of had to give it up. But she was in her 80s at that point, so that gives me a few more years. I just love it. It's what I do. It's who I am. It's just too important to me not to continue doing it. And I wish I had really gotten serious even earlier. I might have ended up in a very different place. I don't know. I'm not discontented with how it all came about, but I plan on continuing to paint as long as I can.